Wave Sound Audiobooks presents an unabridged recording of Murder in the Pacific, Ifira Point, by Matt Francis, narrated by Lani Tupu. To my darling Gabrielle, with all my love. Chapter 1. Jeffrey didn't have long to live. A few short moments of struggle as he was grabbed and held. A glint of metal catching the morning sun. And if there was any truth to the stories, the last thing he would see, even as his own head fell to the ground, would be an arc of blood spraying through the air from his severed throat. Not a pretty death, but one that was now soon approaching. Jeffrey had no idea. George Long knew, though. He would be the one grabbing Jeffrey, holding him tightly and separating forever Jeffrey's head from his body. It was not even 4 a.m. George should still have been asleep. The day ahead was going to be busy. He didn't want to be awake. But George couldn't sleep. Not with Jeffrey making so much noise next door. George lay on his bed, wide awake despite the early hour, imagining over and over Jeffrey's demise. He didn't feel guilty. Jeffrey was going to die anyway. So what was the big deal if it was today and not in a few more years? As a sergeant in the Vanuatu National Police, George often had to visit the expensive holiday resorts around Port Vila. These weren't places most Ni Vanuatu stayed or ate in. But from time to time the Vanuatu National Police would get a phone call from a hotel general manager asking them to visit. Discreetly, please, because something had been stolen or someone had drunk too much and was being abusive, or whatever it might be. More often than not, George was sent. "Your English is much better than mine," George's boss, Inspector Peter Carley, would say with a wave of his hand. "You go. They like you." Perhaps that was true. George's English was good. He had studied in Australia. But it was more likely that George wouldn't frighten the international visitors like some of the Ni Vanuatu police colleagues. George was a much more acceptable face of the local constabulary. It was the clocks that invariably hung on the wall behind the main reception at these resorts that George was thinking about as he stared into the darkness, planning Jeffrey's death. Sometimes there were 3 clocks, sometimes 5. Always an odd number, though. Never 4 or 6, all showing different times. The clock on the left would show the time in Vanuatu's capital.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?